So children, we are moving towards the last part of the chapter, Event Horizon O level. Okay, children. So we are continuing with the investigation of where is Evans. Okay. So our governor is approaching Chief Inspector Mr. Bell, and he is asked to find out Evans at any cost. By this time, Carter comes back and he says that McCleary is admitted in the Radcliffe Hospital. Really groggy he was when we go to the examination officers, and they for the ambulance from there. Okay, so they went to the examination office, and from there they had the ambulance. The governor rang the Radcliffe a few minutes later and asked for the accident department. Okay, so the governor is a very considerating fellow. He is calling the hospital and asking the whereabouts of McCleary, how he is and all. McCleary, you say? Yes, he's a parson. Okay, the inquiry department, help desk is attending the phone and they are asking the name McCleary. And governor says further that he's a parson. Okay, so very important place was given in this Western countries for this church clergyman, the church people, and all those things. Okay, special prestigious status they used to have in the society. Okay, so he is also adding up that he's a parson. Now he want to know how McCleary is he okay and all, because it is a flaw from the part of governor that McCleary got this much hurt and attacked by Mr. Evans. So he is asking about how McCleary is to the hospital people. Now we had to find out whether he was okay with the wound or whether he is suffering so much and all. I don't think there is anyone. Yes, there is. You will find one of your ambulances picked him from Elsfield way about. Oh, that, yes, we sent an ambulance all right. But when we got there, the fellow had gone. No one seemed to know where he was, just vanished, not a sign. But what the hospital people said was quite shocking, because when the ambulance went there at Elsfield, nobody was there and there is no one admitted in the hospital by the name McCleary. But the governor was no longer listening, and the truth seemed to hit him with an almost physical impact somewhere in the back of his neck. A quarter of an hour later, they found the Reverend S. McCleary securely bound and gagged in his study in Broad Street. He had been there, he said, since 8:15 a.m., when two men had called and so now the governor understood that the invigilator who came there was not the real person. It was a fake McCleary. And the police officials are rushing to the flat. And there they found the real Reverend S. McCleary. He was bounded and tied. He was tied in a rope and all. And he was in his study room in the Broad Street. And he said that he was there till since 8:15 a.m. Okay, and then he further added that two people came there at that time. Two men had called there. Enquiries in Newbury throughout the afternoon produced nothing at all. And by tea time, everyone in the prison knew what had happened. It had not been Evans impersonating McCleary who had walked out. It had been Evans impersonating McCleary who had stayed in. The fish and chips were delicious, and after a gentle stroll around the center of Chipping Norton, Evans decided to return to the hotel and have an early night. A smart new hat concealed the wreckage of his closely cropped hair. Now, by the evening, all the people in the prison came to know that actually Evans had made the escape from the jail by dressing up like McCleary. And a fake man, had come as McCleary in order to help Evans. But here on the other side, Evans was having a nice time. He had fish and chips and was having a nice time at Chipping Norton. And then he decided to return to the hotel to have an early night. Yes, of course, after such a big plan, he was really very tired. and he had a smart new hack to hide the damage that he has done to his hair. Okay, in order to dress up like McCleary, he had to crop his hair. And he kept it on as he walked up to the reception desk of Golden Lion. Okay, children? So underline the places names, Chipping Norton and Golden Lion. Golden Lion is the name of the hotel in which he was staying. It would take a good while for his hair to regain its former glories. But what the hell did that matter? He was out again, wasn't he? A bit of bad luck that when Jackson had pinched his scissors, for it had meant a long and tricky operation with his only razor blade the previous night. But he had his good luck, too. Just think, if Jackson had made him take his bobble hat off, that really had been close call. Still, old Jackson wasn't such a bad fellow. Actually, he has insisted on keeping that bobble hat so that he can hide his cropped hair. And he has just tricked the poor Jackson, and Evans was feeling so bad about that as well. And he was saying that yes, Jackson was not that a bad fellow. Anyways, Evans was able to convince or misuse the compassionate mode of Jackson in keeping his lucky hat with him. Now, one of the worst things Funny really had been the beard. He had always been allergic to sticking plaster, okay? So, in order to dress up like McCleary, he had to wear the beard. And Evans is having a problem. He is allergic to sticking plaster. And even now, his chin was irritatingly sore and red. Now, the poor Evans' face was so much showing the irritation because of the plasters of this fake beard and all, and it was very sore and red in color. Okay, children, so Evans is recalling all the hardships, the plans he had made in order to make a very brave escape. Okay, it was a very heroic escape. Okay, just recall how he has fooled all the officials who has been so cautious in order to prevent him from the escape. Now, next we have to think about that whether governor will be able to find out Evans who had made such a brave plan. Okay, children. See, whenever you make a plan, no, you will always have the loopholes. Something or you will miss out somewhere. Okay. So we have to just wait and see whether the governor will be able to catch Evans. Now we are moving on to the next section. The receptionist wasn't the same girl who had booked him in, but the change was definitely for the better. As he collected his key, he gave her his best smile, told her he wouldn't be bothering with breakfast, ordered the Daily Express, and asked for an early morning call at 6:45 a.m. Tomorrow was going to be another busy day. So the receptionist girl has changed and he asked for a Daily Express and he don't want breakfast and he asked her to wake him at by 6:45 a.m. He whistled softly to himself as he walked up the broad stairs. He had sort of liked the idea of being dressed up as a minister, dog collar and everything. Yes, it had been a jolly good idea for McCleary to wear two black francs, two collars, but that top collar, phew, it had kept on slipping off the back stud, and there had been that one panicky moment when McCleary had only just got his hand up to his neck in time to stop the collars springing apart before Stephens. Now, children, the hair and the beard and all we understood, but how Evans got the dress, that long black garment robe of the McCleary is clearly given now. Okay, the fake invigilator who came dressed up as McCleary had really worn two coats. Okay, he had two black coats, two collars, and everything too was there. So he had just shared it with Evans. They had got their little problem worked out all right, though a pen stuck in the mouth whenever the evil eye had appeared at the peephole. Easy. But all that fiddling about under the blanket with the black front and the stud at the back of the collar that had been far more difficult than they would ever bargain for. Now next Evans explains how he managed to change the dress. Children, do you remember he is asking the permission to cover himself in a blanket as he was feeling cold? Yes, so he changed all his dresses under that blanket. Okay, children, I hope so far is very clear for you. Everything else had gone beautifully smoothly, though. In the car, he had found everything they had promised him: soap and water, clothes, the map. Yes, the map, of course. The Ordnance Survey map of Oxfordshire. He had got some good friends, some very clever friends. Christ, So in the car in which he made the escape, he was given all the provisions of soap, water, clothes, and the map, the Ordnance Survey map of Oxfordshire. Okay, so he was having a very great friends and he's thanking God, Jesus Christ, for that. He unlocked his bedroom door and closed it quietly behind him, and then stood frozen to the spot, like a man who has just caught a glimpse of the Gorgon. Now Ivan is unlocking his bedroom and he's closing it and he is just standing frozen. Okay, he had seen something and he is standing still. Sitting on the narrow bed was the very last man in the world that Evans had expected or wanted to see. So who was waiting for Evans in that bedroom, children? Yes, the governor. It's not worth trying anything, said the governor quietly, as Evans' eyes darted desperately around the room. Okay, so it was the man that Evans had least expected in this world. Okay, he had never expected the governor to be there. I have got men all round the place. Well, there were only two, really, but Evans didn't know that. Okay, now the governor is saying some dialogues. Okay, I have covered the entire area. Actually, only two policemen were there with him. But Evans is not knowing that fact. He let the words sink in. Women too. Didn't you think the blonde girl in the reception was rather sweet? Evans was visibly shaken. He sat down slowly in the only chair the small room could offer. So here you have the picture of that girl. Okay, she is a very good looking girl. Okay. And actually she is also a girl who was arranged by the police in order to keep the Evans in the place. He sat down slowly in the only chair the small room could offer and held his head between his hands. For several minutes there was utter silence. Okay, children. Now what happened? Okay, both of them are keeping quiet for some time. Okay. Evans was not having anything to say because he was caught so badly by this man. Okay, by this governor. And Evans was not having anything else to say, or he was not striking any idea to escape from that place. Now let's see whether Evans will be get caught off by the governor, or is it the climax? That is the question that comes. Will the chapter end in this note of governor catching him? Okay, so it was a small room and Evans is sitting in that only chair that the room could offer, and he is keeping his hand in his head and he is sitting in a very disappointment. Okay, and the room was filled with utter silence. Okay, children, so we are moving on to the last part. Okay, so children, what you should do is that you should read the textbook. Okay, you should read the textbook today itself. Otherwise, it's like a novel. Okay, even though it's a chapter for you to learn, it's a sort of novel like chapter. Okay, at one sitting it's not difficult to read it out completely. As I told you, there are 22 pages, but still try to read it. Okay, read it once, that will be enough. When you read, underline all the important points. Okay, children? Yes. So the blonde girl was in the reception was so sweet to Evans. Actually, that girl was appointed in order to deviate the attention of Evans. Now the governor was there, as you can see in the picture. Evans is standing there. Finally, he spoke. governor failed to mask the deep satisfaction in his voice. There are a few people who know a little German. Slowly, very slowly, Evans realized. He was beaten and he knew it. He sat up at last and managed to smile ruefully. You know, it wasn't really a mistake. You see, we hadn't been able to fix up any hotel, but we could have worked that some other way. No, the really important thing was for the phone to ring just before the exam finished, to get everyone out of the way for a couple of minutes. So we had to know exactly when the exam started, didn't we? So Evans got the idea that governor got the hint from the correction slip in which the name of the hotel was mentioned, and Evans was not knowing that the governor had know the German. Okay, very few people know this German language, and Evans was not having the least idea that the governor will be knowing the German language, and he got this hint of the hotel Golden Lion from that correction slip. Actually, there was a problem regarding the timing also. Okay, the timing regarding the phones that came to the prison on that day. Okay, now Evans is recalling the point where they made a mistake. Okay, they had a slip. So there was a confusion regarding the time when the exam started. Okay, so we are moving further to the exam timings, how the friends of Evans managed to mislead the governor and make a fake phone call regarding a correction slip which was not really existing. Okay, and when he called back to the examination board also, the phone was engaging over there. So on that part under they were so clever, very brilliant operation they had done. And like a fool, I presented you with that little piece of information on a plate. Well, somebody did. So you see, sir, that correction slip killed two little birds with a single stone, didn't it? The name of the hotel for me and the exact time the exam started for you. The governor nodded. It's a pretty common word, okay. So when the phone came from the examination board, we have the governor saying that the exam started at 9:25. So they got the time, exact time in which the exam will be getting over. And the name of the hotel was implied to Evans through the correction slip. Good job. It is pretty common, sir, or I had never have known where to come to would I. Nice name though, some golden lion. How did he know which golden lion it was? There is hundreds of them. Same as you, Evans. Index number 313, center number 271. Remember 6 figures. And if you take an ordnance survey map for Oxfordshire, you find that the 6-figure reference lands you bang in the middle of Chipping Norton. Yes, you're right, huh? We had opened you'd run off to Newbury. We did. Well, that's something I suppose, okay? So there are a lot of hotels by the name Golden Lion, and how the governor was able to locate at the same place. It was from that 6 figures, okay? By putting the index number and center number together, the governor was able to locate that place because that was the reference number for that hotel in the Ordnance Survey map for Oxfordshire. So Evans was of the impression that governor may run to Newbury. Yes, actually it was able to mistaken governor for some time. But anyways, he was able to recall and come at the right conclusion. That question paper, Evans, could you really understand all that German? I could hardly. No, of course I couldn't. I knew roughly what it was all about. But we just opened it through a few spanners in the works, sort of muddle everybody a bit. The governor stood up. Tell me one thing before we go. How on earth did you get all that blood to pour over your head? Yes, now the governor wanted to know how the fake McCleary was bleeding so much. Okay, actually, Evans was dressed up like McCleary and he was bleeding as if he had got hit with a heavy thing on his head and all. Isn't it? Evans suddenly looked a little happier. Clever, sir. Very clever. That was how you to get a couple of pins of blood into a cell. When there is none there to start off with, and whenever and when the invigilator, shall we say, gets searched before he comes in. Yes, sir, you can well ask about that. And I don't know if I ought to tell you. After all, I might want to use that particular. Anything to do with a little rubber ring for piles, perhaps? Evans grinned feebly. Clever thought, wasn't it? So actually that semi-inflated rubber tube that the fake McCleary, that fake invigilator had brought, which was on being asked by Jackson, he told that he used to sit on it as if he is suffering from hemorrhoids. Actually, it was filled with this red color fluid, okay, blood like fluid and all, and they used it in order to indicate that he was having a very big bleeding from his head. So they were so clever in fooling Jackson, Stephens, and even the governor. A very well planned attempt it was from the part of Evans, okay. And now the governor understood that we should not underestimate the other people. Even though the police officials are very intelligent, we should not underestimate our opponents, that means the prisoners. Must have been a tricky job, sticking a couple of pins now. You have got it wrong, sir. No problem about that. No. Now, it's the clotting, you see. That's the big trouble. We got the blood easy enough. Pig's blood. It was from the slaughter's house in Kidlington. But to stop it clotting, you have got to mix actual blood. Evans took a breath. With 1/10 of its volume of 3.8% trisodium citrate. Didn't know that, did you, sir? The governor shook his head in a token of reluctant admiration. We learn something new every day, they tell me. Come on, lad. So actually, they managed to get the blood from a slaughterhouse. And actually, it was the pig's blood. And they added some trisodium citrate in order to make it clot. And actually, the governor was very much surprised by seeing all these clever ideas. Okay, he had a very good admiration for Evans, and Evans is of the statement that they learn something new every day. Okay, see children, the thieves know this prison people and all, they learn something new every day. Very tricky people, no? Evans made no show of resistance, and side by side, the two men walked slowly down the stairs. Okay, now Evans was being getting arrested, and the two policemen governor had with him is arresting him. Tell me, Evans, how did you manage to plan all this business? You have had no visitors. I have seen to that. You have had no letters. I have got lots of friends. What's that supposed to mean? My German teacher for a start, you mean? But he was from the technical college, was Evans was almost enjoying it all now. Ever check up on him, sir? God Almighty, there is far more going on than I always will be, sir. Now governor is asking Evans how he managed to plan all these things because Evans was not having any visitors, he had no letters, but Evans said that he had a lot of friends, starting from the German teacher. But the governor thought that the German teacher was actually from the technical college. But Evans pointed out that nobody checked whether he was from any college. There was a flaw. There was a mistake from the part of the prison authority. So governor understood that what he is thinking beyond that was Evans' plans and reach. Everything ready? Asked the governor as they stood by the reception desk. The van's out the front, sir, said the pretty blonde receptionist. Evans winked at her and she winked back at him. It almost made his day. Okay, so the beautiful lady that we saw then, she was there at the reception and Evan is winking at her and she is also winking back. A very funny episode, and Evans was feeling so pleased by that lady and all. A silent prison officer handcuffed the recaptured Evans, and together the two men clambered awkwardly into the back seat of the prison van. See you soon, Evans. It was almost as if the governor were saying farewell to an old friend after a cocktail party. Cheerio, sir. I was just wondering. I know your German's pretty good, sir, but do you know any more of these modern languages? Not very well. Why? Now a prison officer is handcuffing him and he is seated in the back seat of the prison van and governor is bidding him goodbye and all as if Evans is his good old friend. Now Evans is making a question to governor. He is asking him whether he know any more of these modern languages. Now the governor replied that no, he don't know any other modern language very well and all. And he's inquiring why Evans is making such a question. Evans settled himself comfortably on the back seat and grinned happily. Nothing really, I just happened to notice that you have got some O-level Italian classes coming up next September, that's all. Perhaps you won't be with us next September, Evans. James Roderick Evans appeared to ponder the governor's words deeply. No, perhaps I won't, he said, as the prison van turned right from the Chipping Norton onto the Oxford Road. The hitherto silent prison officer unlocked the handcuffs and leaned forward towards the driver. For Christ's sake, get a move on. It won't take long to find out. Where do we suggest we make for? Asked the driver, in a broad Scots accent. What about Newbury? Suggested Evans. So children, actually, Ivan said that there was the O-level Italian classes coming next September. So you may try it. So governor asked him, so you say that you will not be with us by next September? No, it's for sure that I will not be there with you. Saying this, the silent prison official who handcuffed Evans is removing his handcuffs and they are driving to Newbury. So children, actually, the prison van and the prison officials were fake people. They were actually the friends of Evans. And once again, Evan is escaping from right from the face of the governor. Okay, children. So friends matters. Okay. So here in the ending climax section, you can see how cleverly, okay, how cleverly the friends of Evans are very successful in enabling him to escape from the prison again. Okay, and Evans is making his escape to Newbury. And the governor was not able to do anything. He was just standing there